Here we are at the Rafferty Mills Connection with my special guest. He's most well known for his role as Detective Shane Vendrell on critically acclaimed cop show The Shield. Shane spent nearly 7 seasons breaking the law as part of the Farmington District of Los Angeles strike team until it finally caught up to him in season 7. Apart from The Shield, however, my guest has also starred in several films such as Shanghai Noon, House of a Thousand Corpses, The World's Fastest Indian, and The Bourne Identity, amongst other Hollywood blockbusters. He's also even won an Academy Award for Best Live Action Film for the short film which he produced, The Accountant. With the explosive final season of The Shield replaying on reruns and about to be released on DVD in Europe and the United States, I have the honour of being joined by Walton Goggins himself. Walton, welcome to the Rafferty Mills Connection.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
No problem, man. How you doing, all right?
I'm doing fantastic. I actually didn't die, just that my character died. So Walton's doing pretty well these days.
Cool. I guess my first question is, what led you to become involved in acting?
Yeah, I came from a colorful group of performers, and that my family is more often than not more entertaining than I am, and my aunt and uncle are both actors in the theater, and another aunt was a publicist for like B.B. King and Phyllis Diller, and so I was around it, to that extent, and it just seemed a natural place for me to put all my angst and insecurities. As a child, I began acting probably at the age of 12, 13.
Wow.
In my hometown, where I'm from, Atlanta, Georgia. And they were doing a lot of movies back then in Atlanta. And so I just kind of walked into an office of our big casting director one day and said, I don't know what you do, but I want to do it, and I just need your help to figure that out. And she laughed, and we've kind of been friends ever since, and she put me on my way.
Earlier on in your career, you've worked with actors like Robert DuVall and Billy Bob Thornton as well. That must be amazing, being in an early career and working with these veteran actors. They help you in any way, advice, or put you on a career path?
Yeah, they did. I think, a turning point for me certainly was Bobby's movie, The Apostle. And, actors, and I think in life we have heroes, or we have people that we want to emulate. And, for actors, those heroes more often than not are other actors. We see kind of what they do and want to kind of express ourselves the way that they express themselves. And certainly, working so closely with Bob DuVall for 6 weeks, 2 months, it was a dream come true. And I was wise enough not to talk, but just rather to listen to him and what he had to say. And on some level, he kind of took me under his wing and was able to impart some advice that was greatly needed on my behalf. And so, yeah, you're absolutely right. Those people influenced me greatly before I worked with them, and God knows what they've contributed since then.
What about Billy Bob Thornton? Because there's this perception with him, I don't know if you've heard about this, but he was on this radio show recently, and it was promoting his band. And the guy in the introduction was talking about him being an actor, and when he said that, Billy Bob Thornton kind of got grumpy with him. It was a big thing because then he sort of insulted Canadians on the show or something, and then they pulled their whole tour. I mean, what was it like to work with Billy Bob Thornton? Does he have that perception that he's a grumpy guy?
He's been a dear friend for a very long time, and Billy and I have worked together, 4 times, or at least 3 times, and The Apostle was the first movie, and then I did his second movie right after Sling Blade, and then he came and did our movie Crystal for us. And no, he's none of those things. I mean, is he weird? I don't even know what constitutes being weird anymore. And I quite like people that think and act outside the box. As far as to be quite honest with you, I didn't see that, and I don't like to participate in those types of things. That make people look that way. I can't speak for anybody else or why they choose to do the things that they do, but I'm sure something happened, and I'm sure he had his reasons. But as far as I know, he's a dear, dear person, and he's a folk hero from where I come from in the South. He was, one of the first people to really make it, and to kind of change independent filmmaking and the perceptions of the South, and it was I think he'll forever be that in my eyes.
How did you land the role of Shane Vendrell on The Shield?
I robbed a bunch of people and videotaped it and sent it in as an audition and said, "See, look, I can do this." No, I read the script, and like everybody else who had that opportunity was just blown away by it. In the pilot, Shane only has essentially 5 lines. But I was told by Sean and Clark Johnson, and who directed the first episode, and Scott Brazil, our executive producer, that he was indeed going to play a significant part in the structure of this story, as long as they let us keep making the story. And it was the ending, I think, for me, being kind of inexorably tied to the original sin of this show that would be confirmation of that. And I read with those guys and played with them a bit, and they thought I was demented enough for some reason to try to jump on the back of that horse, and so yeah, they gave me the opportunity.
Did you have any reservations about the show itself going in? I mean, it's completely different to like your normal cop show, like a CSI or a Law and Order, and instead showing cops as not being, black and white, but sometimes, corrupt and bordering a shade of grey, which is like for the greater good. What are the big differences? I mean, because you've worked on CSI as well, between working for a show like CSI and working for The Shield, and what were your thoughts of the show going in? Did you have any reservations?
Well, I didn't. I kind of refused on principle not to do any other television show while I was on The Shield, and one exception was CSI because they were friends of mine. And I think that, look, there's food for everyone, and the consumer likes to eat different meals, and myself included. And I think there's a place for procedural shows. They satiate a certain percentage of the population, and you get a beginning, a middle, and an end, and 45 minutes programming. But for me, personally, I like not for things to be wrapped up in an hour. I like to explore human behavior, and I like to see what makes people tick. And while our show was a cop show, it really wasn't a show about police officers. It was a show about the people who just happened to be police officers. And it really followed the lives of these 8 individuals. And that was the greatest freedom for me. And we didn't make I don't think one episode. We made one 88-hour episode of television, and it was an 88-hour movie, in my estimation. And I quite like that because in a structure like that, you can delve into characters in ways that you're never afforded the opportunity to do in cinema, in film, because, it's a 2-hour movie. But in a serialized drama on television that's character-driven, you're able to explore facets of people that remind you of yourself, because we explore ourselves to that extent. And it was the greatest experience of my lifetime.
No, I love it because The Shield has loads of character development, something which I think shows like CSI and Law and Order, whilst they have those kind of things, it's not as amazing as The Shield do it, and they really do have amazing character development. So along the episodes, it just keeps going and going and going, and you learn about the characters as you go along.
Absolutely. I think you get, The Sopranos was that for me. I had a fair amount of that in 6 Feet Under. But, you're so invested in these people's lives, and you want to see how that plays out. And if, you're able to kind of begin an experience like that from the beginning and watch it all the way through, it's like visiting with a friend, for an hour each week. And you find yourself jumping for joy or cursing at the television afterwards, and it's quite stimulating and very rewarding, I think, at the end of it. It's a rewarding journey to go on.
I guess with a show like The Shield, was there a lot of room for like improvising dialogue on the show? Did you have to mainly stick to the script?
We word for word, we stuck to the script. There were times when we would disagree with the words on the page, and we had the opportunity to talk to the writers about that. But for the most part, everything that they wrote, we said. And I think when you